Welcome to this week's edition of New York Now. I'm Dan Clark. What is the state of our state? That was the question this week for Governor Kathy Hochul when she delivered her first State of the State address in Albany. It was a historic moment for the state of New York. After 200 years of men serving as governor and 100 years of those men delivering the State of the State in Albany, Kathy Hochul became the first woman to deliver the address in New York history. The speech was about 34 minutes and touched on some top issues facing New Yorkers today: crime, cost of living, housing, and a lot more. Take a look. It's been 11 years since a sitting governor delivered their State of the State address in the traditional House of the State Assembly Chamber. Governor Kathy Hochul broke that trend this year, signaling a new working relationship with the legislature, which had a tense relationship at times with her predecessor.
To my colleagues and partners in government, for too long, Albany's executive and legislative branches were fighting each other in that arena. No more. That ends now.
It was a test of Hochul's ability to lead the state in turbulent times. The economy continues to struggle, crime is up, and the COVID-19 pandemic feels never-ending. But Hochul said New York has reached a turning point.
Let us seize this moment with great confidence and optimism and create a legacy of accomplishment that will endure through the ages, a new era for New York.
On crime, Hochul handed a win to criminal justice advocates, throwing her support behind the so-called Clean Slate bill. That would clear the criminal records of those who've served their sentence after a waiting period. At the same time, she pledged to boost funding and resources for members of law enforcement to reduce violence and gun crime.
Meanwhile, we'll triple the resources for both our gun tracing efforts as well as for successful community-based programs.
Hochul also proposed new tax relief for middle-income New Yorkers and the state's economy. $100 million would go to small businesses, while a $1 billion property tax rebate would help homeowners. And she wants the state to speed up tax cuts for middle-income earners, currently scheduled to be fully implemented in 2025.
That means more than 6 million middle-class taxpayers will get more money in their pockets sooner, at a time when inflation is robbing them of any gains in income.
She also made some major commitments on the environment and housing. She said New York should move toward more renewable energy powering buildings and invest in climate-resilient infrastructure, plus a new $500 million investment in offshore wind energy to help combat the climate crisis.
This is a threat to our way of life, here and now, and that's why we must and we will implement an ambitious agenda to meet this moment.
On housing, Hochul wants a 5-year plan to invest $25 billion in affordable and sustainable housing that would be targeted at providing more housing options for low-income New Yorkers and the homeless.
We need to focus on addressing the root cause of homelessness: unmet mental health needs, poverty, addiction, and housing insecurity. Every New Yorker deserves access to affordable housing, whether they're at the risk of homelessness or simply struggle to pay the rent on time each month.
And on ethics, Hochul released a new plan aimed at restoring trust in government. She proposed new term limits for statewide elected officials, the governor, LG, state controller, and state AG, and also a new plan for JCOPE, the state's ethics agency. Good government groups say JCOPE isn't truly independent because the agency's members are appointed by lawmakers and the governor. Hochul said she would replace it with a new panel made up of deans from the state's law schools.
I will introduce legislation to replace that commission with a new ethics enforcement watchdog, one with real teeth, one that answers to New Yorkers and not politicians.
But for critics of Hochul's speech, it's not what she said, it's what she left out. Congressman Lee Zeldin, a Republican who's considered the party's presumptive nominee for governor, said she didn't come out strong enough in support of law enforcement.
While listening to Kathy Hochul's State of the State, you were probably wondering, where was her plan to truly tackle rising crime in New York? Where was her workable plan to keep our communities safe? Amidst rising crime numbers in New York City, Rochester, and elsewhere, where was her unequivocal support for our men and women in blue?
State Republican Chair Nick Langworthy, meanwhile, said Hochul's address failed to provide a clear strategy to improve the state as a whole and stop New Yorkers from moving out. Data recently released from the U.S. Census Bureau shows that New York currently leads the nation in population decline.
There is no vision in this state. To fix New York, we need a fresh start. We need to take a bottle of bleach to the halls of Albany and clean house.
Hochul will now negotiate her priorities with state lawmakers throughout the legislative session. That ends in June.